Okay, so our personality can function on these different dimensions. So our personality is not does not correspond to one of those dimensions. It's like within all of those dimensions. Our personality is like a little baby from our soul. So it's still like the soul consciousness, but just not as huge, just not as expansive, just not as able to understand and see everything like our soul can. It just has a very focused point of understanding. But our personality will develop through the mental body, through the psychic, emotional body, and through the physical body, understanding where we are, what we're doing, and can make sense of these things. But it's connected into these different bodies that we have. And innervates or flows, the consciousness gets distributed through the bodies, through meridians, through the nervous system, so that we can move these bodies, we can feel with these bodies. But really, when our hand touches something, it's not really the hand that's feeling it. It's the etheric vitality, energy of our being that's flowing through the hand that feels that. And then that goes back into our consciousness of the personality. So we are separate from the body. That's really the idea. We're separate from the body. And then being separate from the body, we know that our personality and our memory can be pulled out of the body and can exist outside of the body. And then that's what eventually just goes back into the spherical pattern. It's connected to the spherical pattern by that silver cord. And then as that cord is cut, the memory will flow back in to the spherical pattern. And then it holds it as a chapter in the book and then gets ready to write a new chapter by projecting out another silver cord to go into other bodies. And through that silver cord, the soul can create a personality with certain tendencies that are within the soul. So it's not just we're totally separate from the soul and our personality is totally separate from the soul. That's not how it works. We are actually created in the image and memory of our soul so that we can continue the same story. And that's kind of what maybe it appears as though we're in a prison because we're in this pattern of our personality always being projected out in a certain way. Well, that's because we come from those memories. We come from that essence of the soul. We come from that experience. And that's where we're going to continue to live until we begin to change that. So it seems like a prison. That's just where we are.
Yeah.
And an understanding of how the cord comes in with three branches, like it comes in as one cord and then branches out into three places in our body. That really helps to understand a very deep thing of who we are. Is that, yeah, we are 12 archetypes in that spherical pattern. There's 12 archetypes that are helping us understand life. But then the pattern itself mathematically forms 3 other transitional states. This is what they learned from the mathematics of the buckyball molecule. That buckyball molecule exists in 4 transitional states. So there's one original transitional state, and then it creates 3 others. That's what they've learned from a molecule that exists in this world. And so that spherical pattern has the same mathematics. It creates these 4 states. One is original and permanent, and the other are just temporary states. And that's where we are living right now. And each of those 3 other states is connected by a silver cord to the original state. And it's kind of simple, but this is really advanced. I don't know of anybody, I've never heard of anybody who understood that. Other than Stylianos Ateshlis, who would teach this. I don't know of any other book, anywhere.
No, I never heard, yeah.
Yeah, this is so advanced to see these things and understand these things at that level. But then it becomes just so simple. Dantians. The Chinese saw it. Dantians. One of the most basic meditations of Stylianos was seeing a blue ball down here, a pink ball here, and a yellow ball here. And those colors reflect the expression of those particular bodies. The blue ball corresponds to mutable earth. In the way I've made my correspondences for color, blue is mutable earth. It's the same color that they're using, so the earth corresponds to the physical body, earth.
Yes.
And then the color they use for that meditation here is like this soft pink. And that's the color of that fixed fire. And that's the first symbol in the order of the emotional body. So it makes sense. And then you have the color up here of yellow. And that's the first symbol in the order of the mental body, mutable air. So the colors make sense, the states make sense, and the connections make sense. And so once you begin to understand, we're just a projection from the soul. And then we're going to go back to the soul, and we're done. And then a new personality comes out, and then it goes back and it's done. You know, once we begin to understand that we're temporary, we're not permanent. This personality that we have is just temporary. It's our soul that is eternal. The only thing we can do as these temporary personalities is to understand who we are and then be able to learn how to go back to our soul and express that. So that our soul speaks through us. And there's not many people who have learned to do that.
Yeah. This is the the big concern I have now, to not lose all I know when time comes, to not forget, to not lose. So yeah.
You know, we have these elementals in our body. You know, we could be right now. We could create an elemental for detachment. We're going to detach from the world. We're going to detach from our loved ones, and just live conscious of God, right? Conscious of our soul.
Yeah.
But then there's these elementals still within our soul saying, but don't you still want children? Don't you still want to know
Yeah.
things? Don't you still have questions to ask about life? Remember you wanted to know, but you still don't know? And yet,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden our mind says, oh yeah, I wanted to know those things. Oh yeah, children. Oh yeah, I wanted to go travel. And then all of a sudden we reattach to the world. And so if we really want to detach from the world, it's like we constantly have to remind ourselves to not reattach.
Exactly.
And that's tricky.
And to refuse reincarnation. when when that fellows arrive proposing that with a plan for you to reincarnate, you say, no, no, I'm good. I wanna keep my conscience. I don't want to lose everything, forget about everything, and start all over again. And I will not meet my family again because I will born in another place, another country with another people. So I'll not meet my loved ones again, or at least at the same time, at the same um, kind of relationship. It would not be the same.
I remember hearing a story. I don't know if this is from the Bible or not, but there's stories about when people finally realized how to follow God, how to find God. And like there's a story of this woman working outside of her house. I don't know what she was doing, cleaning or cooking. And she was outside of her house. And all of a sudden all of a sudden she just understood. And she dropped everything and just walked away. She finally understood and she just walked away. So I have this picture in my mind of this woman just walking away from her house. I don't know where she walked to, but she left her house. It wasn't, she was, all of a sudden she realized she was way beyond that and just let it go. And for me to understand that, how would you understand that?
No, yes. I believe part of the reason that we keep coming here is guilty, because we feel guilty and we want to kind of repair previous errors like karma. But you don't need to reincarnate to repair. You can work in the astral dimension, helping humanity, helping do whatever service you can to kind of collaborate or repair any errors that you may have done. So it's it's not needed to come back to repair and you forget, so it doesn't make sense. It's a kind of prison, really, if you keep coming.
So do you think it's that easy just to break out of this?
If it, what's if that easy to
Yeah,
just
do you think it's easy to break out of this prison?
I don't know if it's easy, but I know that we just reincarnate if we allow. So if you will agree, if you will want, if you will ask, if you will don't, it's free will. We will not. And I think we can help it, without losing our consciousness. Yeah, without losing all the information and memory and all that.
The soul has to project a personality. The soul has to project a personality that is able to connect with itself. We have that. All of us have the ability to know our soul. But we're so focused on other things. And we think we're the center of the universe, and we think we are the soul. We don't think the soul is actually something different than us. Or people think the soul is different from us. And then other people think we are the soul. And they're both right. But people, I don't think, realize that soul consciousness is so much more than this personality consciousness. And I don't think they understand. People think that this is me, this is my soul, this is what I understand. I'm going to be with God. I'm living my life. And I don't know what's after life. I may die and this is the end. Or if I die, I continue on, but I continue on as me forever. I will always be Edward for millions of years. And people don't understand that's not how it works. The soul will continue on for millions of years, but Edward won't. And people don't understand that little difference.
So the soul just receives everything Edward knew.
Say that again?
So the soul just receives everything Edward learned?
Yes. Yes. But with this absolute wisdom, this absolute intelligence, which means we're able to resolve a lot of our karma by the way we live and what we think. And so the changes that we make in our lifetime change our soul. So the changes that we can make will affect the next personality that's projected.
In a way that each one is a kind of more evolved than the previous one.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how it works. Because it's the story that keeps developing. And so it's basically a learning process. So that we look back, we can look back at our past lives and just go, well, that was a big learning process. And now I'm different.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take that experience and move on. I think that's when we're still having some of those experiences now. And like in this life, there's still like tough emotional problems that we have for certain things. And it's all this learning process that in a future life, we can look back and say, yeah, that was a tough emotional period that I lived in that life, but I'm different now. I've grown and I've moved on. And so it's like we have to look at these moments in our life that are tough and challenging and kind of just step back and observe and realize this is just one little scene in a movie. And even if this is the end of the movie, that doesn't matter. It's just, I'm going to be creating a lot of movies here. How I respond in that moment. Can I respond from my soul? Or do I respond from a scared little human being that doesn't want to die? Or do I respond from my soul saying, I will never die because I'm a soul. And I'll never lose you because you're a soul too. No one ever dies. We can always reconnect with different personalities in the future. And then it's like, once we realize that, there's no fear. If you die, if you get sick, it's like, hey, that's just life.
Yeah.
Like it says in the Bible, if you try to save your life, you're going to lose your soul. But to get your soul, you have to lose your life.
Yes. Really, yeah. Really interesting.
You know, as acupuncturists, this is what we got to teach a lot of people who are going through hard times. Relax, release, let it go. You're bigger than this. You know, just this is not going to kill you. Just realize who you are as a soul and relax.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
And if you can get your patients to just reach that point of just saying, relax, relax. But Noah, I can't relax. This is like the most major stressful thing in my whole life. You put this into perspective of who you are into eternity. This is just a little story. Learn detachment. Play with it. Don't take it so seriously, but play with it. Play a game with it. See if you can try something creative in this situation and see what happens. But lighten your heart and just don't get so caught up in it being so serious. Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if we can get our patients to just relax, that would help so much.
Yeah.
And
Really nice.
and even, past life regressions, people freak out about those things. They have to learn to just accept the truth and then look around them and realize all the possibilities that they have right now to improve. And get into that mental space that they can just improve their life with all these bad things that happened in their past. And then just to realize all I have to do is move forward and improve from here. And once they get that state of mind, they can walk through death. They can walk through different lifetimes and just keep moving forward and being free.
Mm.
Takes a while to get to that point, but I know some lady in the Bible did it. She got it and just walked away.
Yeah. Really nice.
But if she had a little baby, she couldn't just walk away.
Yeah, because should be attached. Yeah.
Unless she really got it and left the little baby there and knew that somebody would take care of the baby. But even then, if she really got it, she might just walk away, leaving the baby. And that is a state of mind. That is somebody who is ready to follow God. They can leave everything, even a little baby who needs milk. And that to me is almost scary, to be able to detach at that level. And if you can leave a little baby there crying for milk, you got it. You're ready to leave, and you're ready to grow spiritually a lot.
And Jesus always demanded this from the apostles, right? To
Yeah.
leave everything and just follow him. To know that not knowing exactly to where, just follow. Yeah.
Otherwise, we can just continue to live lifetime to lifetime. Pains and sufferings, happiness
But
and joy.
what about what do you think about this possibility of people who died and just stay around in Earth? Would be the personality that did not uh, come back to the soul? It's kind of lost the path to come back to the soul.
Well, a person dies and they leave their body and they can walk around that space, the room, the house where they are, and they can form an attachment to it. And not really knowing where to go, if they're in that, if they're in a state of mind where they can kind of see and connect with things, and they don't leave. I had this experience with my father that I was taking care of him. And then when he passed on, his personality was still wandering around the house. And I was able to see him on one occasion. So there came a point where I had to leave the house. So I had to go in there and just tell him, we're all leaving. You got to move on. I just called him in. I just said, there's nothing here. There's nothing. No one's going to be here. Nothing's going to be here. It's time for you just to move on. And then we all left the house. And then I was able to see him later on that he had left. He was in another space. He had gone up and was with my mother. So I was able to see that. So he got out of that house. But he was the type of person that would have just stayed there until someone kind of said, it's time to go. And then when it was time to go, he went.
Mm-hmm.
So
is it possible that in this kind of situation that this soul releases another personality to live in the world without receiving back the previous one? It's hard to know.
say that again.
The soul did not receive him immediately, but is it possible that this soul released another personality to reincarnate in Earth without receiving him back first? Because we know of cases of personalities that stay around for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? And so the soul did not evolve or keep releasing new personalities.
That is a good question.
Yeah, it's difficult to know.
Because the soul is capable of doing that. Does it always do that? I don't know. But the soul is capable of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just as if all of the archangels are connected by their consciousness. Yes, the soul could produce personalities at the same time, which we are one of the personalities. Would we know what's going on with the other personality? Do we need to know what's going on with the other personality? Would the soul allow us to know what was going on with the other personality? the soul probably wouldn't want those two personalities to know about each other. Maybe, sometimes yes, to see what would happen. But most of the time, there's an opportunity there to create another personality. As personalities, we're not really going to know. That's another reason why if we really wanted to know, we'd have to blend our consciousness with the soul consciousness. And then from the soul consciousness, we would know if there's another personality from our soul out there. It sure would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't have any experience with that. But I know it's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time we have, but one of the things that, like this deepening of my research was to really understand what the sixth element was. And, you know, if you understand acupuncture, you're going to learn about the 5 elements. So we can see the fire and the earth and the air and the water. And then the 5th element is this ether, this etheric energy that comes in and out of our bodies and that gives us vitality. That's the 5th element, which is very, very advanced. Not everybody can see it. It's that kind of bluish, hazy kind of color that comes in and out of the body. That light, that like wispy light that flows around us and within us. So that's the 5th element, which makes sense. And the 5th element kind of makes up our energy centers, the meridians, that energy, that etheric energy that flows through our bodies. 5th element. But the 6th element is even beyond that. And this is what I now understand. This is what I've now put into perspective. Think of the etheric energy like a sort of blood flowing through your body. It's not the blood, but it's like etheric blood, moving and developing and generating. But at what point do we form this space within which we live? And then all that etheric energy begins to move and develop our experience, projecting thoughts, forming elementals with etheric energy, feeling things. There's something that happened before that created the seed. That's where the 6th element comes in. When we have this shell around us, when we're surrounded by this white light, in that moment, we've created this space within to create. And then the etheric 5th element flows within that. So getting the space, the shell that we live in, as like that egg-shaped shell around us, that is the 6th element space. And then all of the transformations that go on within that of the 5 elements, that's acupuncture. But understanding that 6th element of the seed space around us, that is the 6th element. So when the soul first begins to create a personality, it has to create that sixth element within which everything's going to function. That seed. The spherical pattern itself is a seed, but it needs to create a seed in order to grow. So the first thing it creates is that space, that quiet space that can hold life and transform life. So this is like an element beyond etheric energy, beyond the fifth element. And we can recognize this as that egg-shaped white shell around us. That's so very important. It'll protect us. It'll give us light. It'll reflect our visions back to us. Our dreams will be projected onto that shell, just around us. And it'll feel like a virtual movie in our dreams, but really it's just in front of our faces is this world taking place on the surface of that shell. And that shell is maintaining the space within which we live. And that's the sixth element. Because that shell is creating that harmony within to live. The seventh element is creating that sixth element. When you start going up to the seventh element, now you're getting to that point where you can actually create life. You can take substance, turn it into energy, and turn it into matter. You're actually, what's the word, dematerializing things? And so we have all of that within us. And that's the soul consciousness. Is the soul consciousness sees us in this protected space as a personality, as this separate consciousness. It knows we're in a protected space. We're in a safe space that's going to maintain our consciousness and maintain our personality. That's that sixth element space. And the soul knows this. It's created us in a safe space with which to grow. If it just created this etheric energy moving around with a pattern to follow, we could fall apart very easy. No, the soul created us in this egg-shaped oval pattern that surrounds us.
Mm-hmm.
And it knows we're safe. Yeah, we could, if we die and the physical body goes away, we're still inside here. Okay, then the psychic emotional body dies and that goes away. Okay, our personality is still inside this sixth element protected space in peace. And then when that's ready, it all comes back into that spherical pattern of the soul. And it's all this protected, safe space with which to experience life. And that's when it becomes like, that's the sixth element. It's maintaining that space within which life expresses.
Mm-hmm.
And within which life does not disappear. Within which life continues to live. Within which, when we're ready, it comes on back. So our personality, which is inside of our bodies, is protected within this egg-shaped oval. So even if our personality leaves the body, it's still within this egg-shaped oval, protecting it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that egg-shaped oval sometimes things can come in and out of it. Sometimes there's a hole in it and we're vulnerable. But that's just influences of life. Those are just elementals passing in and out. That's normal. But that space is what's critical to understand, is that we are within this space living. And to understand how that space is created and how it functions, that's the sixth element.
Very good. Yeah.
That is something acupuncture has not learned yet. They don't have, acupuncture doesn't have a way of connecting to that and using that through the needle treatments. They don't have the theory for it yet.
Yes, it's amazing. And yeah, the Chinese, they received kind of 80 or 70% of this knowledge, and then missing this remaining this 30%,
Yeah.
40%. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But then the universe takes care of these and sends people like you. People like you to raise all that. Yeah.
Because we can tap into that. We can connect to that through an acupuncture treatment. And then bring that space in. And that's a healing space. Because that's the space what's actually creating our life.
Yeah.
Kind of important to get into the sixth element space. Kind of important. And then how that sixth element space connects into the silver cord, back into the spherical pattern. That is interesting because it's the same light. The silver cord and that space that's defined by the egg-shaped oval. It's the same light. It's the same consciousness, but with different functions, with different, what's the word? Compositions. So because of they have different compositions, but they're functioning together. So that silver cord is the projection, but then that silver cord is within this protected space to the consciousness personality developing within it. So that six element space and the silver cord are working together to create this connection, this protected space, which is connected to the soul.
Got it. Yeah.
And that is advanced. That is advanced because people see different parts of that, but they haven't connected them together yet. I've never, ever seen anybody connect those together and understand why and how they're connected together. Because even people you'll find on the internet, all they know are five elements. That's all they know. And they don't understand that sixth element space. And even to go to the seventh element, which is even more beyond the sixth element, there's still all these elements, dimensions that people don't know yet. How many dimensions are there?
A lot.
My understanding, things that I were taught, things that I understand, would say 8 or 9.
8?
Could be 8 dimensions. That from the 6th, there's still a 7th, and beyond the 7th, there's an 8. And beyond the 8th, you're going back to just absolute consciousness. That's beyond the manifestations of life. That within the manifestations of life, we can create 8, possibly 9 elements that are different. An element is just a different expression or a different vibration of the substance of life, the substance with which all the universes are built. And so you can take that and mold it into a solid object, call it earth. You can take that and create a fluid moving object and call it water. You can take that and move it into something that's flowing like the wind and call it air.
Mm-hmm.
Then you take that substance and you put it around a living being, and now you're calling it a 6th element, because it's this special expression of the substance that's used to create life. And it becomes the substance within which life is created. But it's still a recognizable form that has a different function. And so we can call it a different element, even though it's all made from the same basic substance that creates the universes. Because of how it's made into its particular form and function, defines it as a different element.
Yeah, I see. Mm-hmm.
And
yeah. Really?
We're kind of talking about the physics of life in some ways.
Yeah, really nice.
I hope you can move forward with your acupuncture, and that this pandemic kind of goes away so you can get back to your internship.
Yeah, I hope to. I'm really waiting a lot for that. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so tonight I wanted to give you a sense of the 6th element, that sense of detaching from life and how that allows us to grow. And also how that 6th element blends into the silver cord. That's something I learned today. But then how that blends into that protected space within which we live a life. Now, where's the soul? When we're within that egg-shaped oval, and we're a point of consciousness within that, with different dimensions of bodies, like the mental body, the psychic, emotional body, and the physical body, living in that space, where is the soul? Inside or outside? What do you think?
I believe it starts inside and goes outside. You have a part inside and a part outside.
I don't know yet.
Yeah, I think we are. How can I say? We are inside a part of the soul, but the soul is bigger, much bigger than this. So it it still has a part that we out of this. Yeah, my guess.
So we're either within the soul or the soul is within us. You know, just it would make sense that we're within the soul.
Yes.
So the soul is within us, but also around us.
Yes, because it extrapolates us.
And it's not like the soul has a form that we can really identify, even though it does have a personality of itself and a form of itself. See, these are questions to continue to learn.
Yeah.
And maybe by next week I'll have the answer. Sit back and go into a meditation with my soul and ask the question and find out.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
We're within the soul. We're within the soul, and the soul is within us. But the soul is much greater than us.
Yes.
So that's when you begin to see that within this sixth element egg shape are the five elements transforming around. And then that space is defined by the sixth element, creating that seed space. And then around that, you start getting into the soul space, into those elements of the soul. So once you get into the seventh element and the eighth element, you're looking at different expressions and manifestations of the soul at the soul level beyond our little egg-shaped oval.
Yes, I think that. Yeah.
That's
I
it.
think, yeah, I think this.
So talking with you tonight, we put that together. We've now connected the sixth element to the seventh element.
Yes.
And so now we're getting to that point where the acupuncture can become even more powerful. To recognize the sixth element and then tap into that higher wisdom beyond it and bring that down in to really transform a life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And somehow our mind and emotions and mind and thoughts, they interfere in our health, physical health. So probably we have the other way out. If our physical health through acupuncture, for example, but acupuncture can also work for mental and emotional health as well. But our physical health can give conditions or interfere into our mental and emotional health as well, right? So this balance will give us good conditions for a higher consciousness. So probably the acupuncture plays this role in, how can I say, in the ascendance, probably help, kind of help in ascension. Sorry, the word in ascension.
we're we're developing a new, we're taking these ideas and developing like a new form of acupuncture. Because acupuncture's never really gone to this level before.
Yes, no.
Acupuncture will look at the state of the five elements living life. Like it says in the Tao Te Ching, the five elements, or, the five noises and the five colors. Five colors blind the eye, the five noises deafen the ear. So that you have all this noise and colors and everything bombarding our consciousness, and we can't find that inner peace anymore. So the idea is, in acupuncture, it's trying to balance those five elements. All the ups and downs and craziness and how things seem to get out of balance. And acupuncture tries to bring it all back into balance so it's flowing properly again. That's all within that protected space. But when you connect into that protected space, you can harmonize everything at a much higher level. You can bring a sense of peace back that is much deeper. You can bring a sense of healing back that is much deeper. That you're bringing the person back to their original form. And that's when you can heal with the perfection that people are born with. And that's when you've tapped into this space within which disease occurred, but you're connecting back into that space that can actually heal the disease. That is going to involve something more than needles.
Yeah.
Yep. That's going to involve the meditation to get that element to flow through you, to get that sixth element to flow through you. Its nature, its substance, and then it flows through you. If you can get it to flow through a needle, then that needle will heal and flow that sixth element energy. Now, if you can get the seventh element to flow through you, where you actually have that soul consciousness to create anything, you can dematerialize tumors. You can lengthen legs. You can restructure nerves. You can fix broken arms. You can heal eyes. You can return to its normal form.
Yeah. Probably through co-creation, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I was researching in the internet, and this guy, it seems this guy was already doing this. This guy I told you, Joel Goldsmith. So yeah, so he the story of him is that he was able to cure people just like Jesus. So yeah, cure and do amazing things, amazing things. So yeah, so it's possible to humans.
Yeah. Yes, Stylianos Ateshnis.
Yes, Stilianos as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very possible to humans.
Yeah, he would talk about the four ethers to the beginning students. And so basically that's like saying the four elements. And that the students would learn to become conscious of those four elements within their body. But then he would also say there's three higher ones, 5, 6, and 7, within which you would be dematerializing substance, materializing substance, changing the form of substance, like, take something hard and making it soft, and then turning it back into hard again. So you're changing substance. And so those higher elements, he wouldn't talk about those with regular students, only the advanced students. But this is the idea, is to get into those states of consciousness where material will change its nature. And that solid substance can become fluid or soft. And then you can make it solid again. And it's doing that in response to your consciousness. And it took him thousands of years to get to that point, through many lifetimes. But it's good to get these ideas in us now, to know that this is where we're going.
Yeah.
And that now these ideas are part of who we are and where we're going.
Yes. And we had that experiment of quantum mechanics, right? Yeah. The particle and oh my God, I forgot the name. Sorry. Waves and particles. So according to the observer, it would behave as a particle or behave as a wave. So yeah. So
So what is one thing you can take away from tonight and say, okay, this is something I can work on?
I really like these these elements. Like we have the 5 we know in acupuncture, then the 6 that we are studying, and then above that we would have the 7th, which is linked to our soul. So it is a very good objective for meditation, for to meditate about it. Yeah.
And how would you meditate on that?
How? Usually I do some kujis like this one to focus my mind and not think about many things at that moment of the meditation. So I do this for 1-2 minutes, and then I try to empty my my mind, what is difficult, but for few seconds I'm able to, and then I start kind of visualization, connecting to energy, a higher soul. That's what I'm doing. I'm not sure if this is a good technique.
As you're meditating, think about what you're interested in, and kind of visualize it and think about it and ask questions, and then kind of move with the experience, and let the knowledge form. That's so everything else you're doing. But one thing about meditation is you don't want to empty the mind. When it comes to developing a consciousness about something, you want to think about it as we think. The subject, the thing, what it is, the concept, what you might think about it, and develop your understanding about it more and more. And try to find insights into it. And so a meditation sometimes is just as simple as sitting down, closing your eyes and just thinking. And it's like you have this conversation with the spirits with you. Because the only entities that can hear your thoughts at that moment are the spirits with you. And as you begin to think about something, they will respond, but they'll respond into your mind, within your mind.
Yes, this happened already a few times. Yeah.
And you develop that. And if you want to get to the point of, asking about past lives or other things, you just get into that space with the guides and you're thinking with them. And then they're giving you information that they feel you're ready for. And then you learn to deal with the information that they give you. You learn to understand it. And, you may not understand right away. It may take days or weeks or whatever. But you'll get an insight, and then it'll begin to make sense over time. That's kind of how this works, because we've spent now like over an hour and a half talking because of things we've learned. And if we just sat down all the time and just meditated and blanked out our mind, we would never learn anything specific. We just know that space, that calm space within which substance is created. And that can be powerful. But at the same time, when you want to understand something, you have to think about it. That's why we're given this, that's why we're human. And this is one of the traits about a human which brings us very close to God, is our ability to think. The animals cannot think like we do. So the animals cannot meditate like we do. We can see an animal kind of close its eyes and kind of go into a soft meditation where it looks like it's sleeping. And it's just going back into a peaceful state. But it's not thinking, it's not learning. And this is what makes human beings so powerful, is within our meditations, we can explore. We can learn. And we can get all these insights that help us grow even further. So that's why in meditation, the true meditation is a thinking meditation. There are other meditations where you just concentrate on your breathing, for example. It's a very basic meditation. Like Stylianos would talk about the 5 keys. The first key was concentration. It's the first thing you want to develop. So you learn to just sit there and concentrate on an object or concentrate on your breathing. Nothing else. Don't let anything else enter your mind. So you're just learning to concentrate. Okay. But that's the first step of the meditation. And then from there you go to observation. Then you begin to observe, learn to observe how things change, how things move. Whatever you're concentrating on, learn to observe it. And then you go into visualization, where you're actually creating objects that you can concentrate on in your mind. Like, for example, I could concentrate on a pencil. And this is all I know, and I only concentrate on this. And then I learn to observe it. And now I'm going to learn how to create that pencil in my mind. So that's like the third key to develop the consciousness. But these are still like the simpler states of meditation. So visualization, after visualization becomes meditation. So now that I'm able to create things with my mind, now I'm going to explore what I understand in my mind. I'm going to explore it, ask questions, go through it, See what it is. Learn to observe these deeper mysteries of life through meditation. And that's when your meditation really will take you farther and farther. But first you learn the concentration, then the observation, which is just like another level of concentration that you can observe, but you can actually move your concentration and be able to observe with concentration. And then once you're able to focus your concentration and observation to that extent, then you can do that within your own mind. And then once your mind has that control, then you go into a meditation and you may have an idea like sixth element. And you focus and concentrate on sixth element. What does it feel like? What does it sound like? What does it look like? What are some of the things you understand about it? And as you begin to just think sixth element, and those meanings attached to it begin to form within your mind. And as the more you go into that meditation on the sixth element, other things become attached to it. Other things come into the picture, and you begin to see picture growing about what that sixth element really means. And that's when you really begin to take a meditation and make it powerful.